What's up, guys? It is time for another video, and these warm days we've been having the last few days has really got me thinking about the pre-spawn and warming water temps and getting to this dynamite time to fish. You know, we've been cooped up inside and fishing ultra cold water, ultra cold weather. It's nice to think about these warmer temps, nicer days, better fishing, and I thought I would do a video of my key baits for the next month. And today is February the 25th. I'm basically going to be talking about the baits I'm going to be using for the month of March in the pre-spawn. I'm in Northeast Tennessee, so when we get to the end of March, we're talking about fish spawning. We're probably in the upper 50s on the water temps at least. Depending if weather does what it's supposed to, which if you live anywhere in the eastern United States over the last month, weather has not been what it's supposed to be. But my number one bait, well, in order to choose a bait, you kind of have to have an understanding of what these fish are doing. Now, this is mainly talking about highland reservoirs, since that's where I live. Most of my lakes are highland reservoirs. And when that water temperature gets cold, wintertime hits, these fish pull out to the main lake for the most part and move off deep. And you know, we've been catching a lot of fish on little Kitech swim baits way down deep, the Mickey rig, just dropping vertically in video game fishing. That's kind of been our game for the last 2-3 months. And so generally when the water starts warming, those fish don't just go straight up to the bank. They seem to lift up off the bottom, suspend first before they move in. And because of that, no surprise here, number one is the jerkbait. It's a Megabass Vision 110. I use the 110 plus one, maybe a little bit more, but I use them both. And what I'll do, especially the warmer it gets, the more I'll fish it up on the bank. But a lot of times this time of year, I'm hitting main lake stuff, main lake points, and bluff walls. Bluff walls is a sneaky one you don't hear a lot of people talk about with the jerkbait. But on those main lake points and stuff, I'm going to be fishing this as a 45. I'll throw it up real close to the bank, and just in case there's a fish up there shallow, and bring it all the way back to me. I'll generally try and keep the boat in 20 to 30 foot of water, and as the day progresses, you'll probably see a pattern on whether you're catching most of them at the end of your cast up shallow, or if you're catching them back at the boat, and you can kind of adjust accordingly. On those bluff walls, I like to throw this just parallel right up against it. And I think that bluff wall is really good because the fish can move up and down up in the water column and not have to move a long distance to do it. So that's a good one that you don't hear a lot of people talk about. Now, number two for me is going to be a few different baits but the same concept, and that's going to be a crankbait. Now, probably the number one, you're going to see a common denominator between all of these cranks: red and crawl patterns. That's the next month. If you are having an issue picking a crankbait color, if you're having a hard time, just pick some sort of red and you're going to be right. You just cannot beat crawl colors this time of year. Don't know why it is, but red seems to be the ticket. Number one crankbait for me, and probably the whole country, this is probably one of the most, if not the most popular crankbait on the planet, and that's the Rapala DT6. I know it's Rapala, but I've called it Rapala like my whole life. That's kind of a hard one to change. But this one is red Craw. It's a very good color. This one's Demon. This specific crankbait has caught a ton of fish. You can see it's got a bunch of mileage on it. Both of those very good colors. This one's faded a lot. The Demon is actually a little bit brighter than this. I've got a new one, actually two new ones in there, but I've just used that one just because I've kind of got some sentimental value with it. But both of those very good colors. Red Craw, Demon, that goes across all the Rapala crankbaits. A new one for this year that I'm real excited for, and I caught some fish yesterday on Cherokee on it, is the new OG Slim 6, and this is another good color. This is dark brown Crawdad. It's a little more subtle, so I think if you get a little bit clearer water, maybe this one's a little bit better maybe than the loud red Craw or Demon, but really they'll bite that at any time. Both of this and the DT6 both are 6-foot diving crankbaits. They both do very well in rock. This one seems to do a little bit better because that bill is quite a bit shorter. If you see that, That bill is a lot shorter, and if it does get hung up, you can just give it slack and it backs out of rock very well. But neither one of these goes through wood at all. If you get into kind of some laydowns and stuff like that, these don't do that good. You can kind of work them slow and worm them through there, but that's generally not how I'm fishing a crankbait. If I'm in that kind of stuff and I want to fish those laydowns, the one I'm probably going to pick is a SPRO Little John. And the reason that is it's a circuit board lip. It's a square bill. It's not a traditional square bill, but for all intents and purposes, it's a square bill. Flat-sided, which that Slim 6 is as well. Both of those are true flat-sided baits. The DT6 is fairly flat-sided, also balsa wood like the Slim 6. These two are balsa. This one's plastic. It's got a soft tungsten knocker in it. The DT6 kind of has a faint rattle to it. Slim is totally silent. And like I said, this one has a tungsten, just a soft tungsten rattle. But this one will come through cover very well. If you're fishing laydowns or any type of structure, I'm going to be picking the Little John. Now this one's Western Red Craw. It's a pretty sharp looking color. That's going to be my go-to for fishing cover. Alright, here's one that I'm really going to work pretty hard at trying to get some confidence in this year. I've caught some fish on it, but I just haven't dedicated much time to throwing it. And I know it's a great springtime bait, but this is one I'm going to be personally working on, and that's the lipless crankbait. This is a Lucky Craft LV500. I've got red eye shad too, but this one I think is going to be very, very good at covering water in those areas where maybe it's a flat leading into some spawning areas or something. You can cover water so much more efficiently with this because you don't have to have the dive depth correctly. You know, these crankbaits, they need to be hitting bottom to catch fish. If you're not hitting something, you're not catching anything. I know you can maybe get lucky and catch one here or there, but to consistently catch them, you need bottom contact. And you can do this in any depth. So this one's going to be one I'm going to put some time into this year. I've been yo-yo retrieving it some, and I think that's probably the most popular way, but as it gets warmer, the warmer it gets, the faster you can move it. But this is one you're going to see me use a lot. I think this is TO Craw, but you're going to see me using this one a lot this year, trying to get some confidence in it. Now another one, as it starts warming, it's one I got a lot of confidence in last year and caught a bunch of fish on it, and that's the bladed jig. These are jackhammers. That's all I use now. But you've got different ways you can rig these. As you start getting to that 60-degree water temp, 55 and up, this is going to be a player, big player. It'll probably catch them any time of the year, but I just have more confidence as it starts to warm up a little bit. But this one is Green Pumpkin Shad, and that's got that Yamamoto Seiko trailer on it. I've just colored the tip of this trailer chartreuse. It's been on there forever. I don't always do that, but it was particularly dirty the day I used this. I think it was actually the tournament on Cherokee last year where I doubled up and fished a night tournament, and then the very next day fished the day tournament on Cherokee. But I've got three main colors I use. It's Green Pumpkin Shad for my shad imitation. I use Green Pumpkin. This is a new trailer I'm trying. It's a Hog Farmer Spunk Shad. You can see it's just a little pintail swim bait, and it just quivers like crazy. I think it's going to be a good one. And the other one's Black and Blue. I don't have one of them out here. But there's one thing I do want to tell you about that you don't hear a lot of people talk about when it comes to bladed jig trailers. You hear the Seiko, you hear the Z-Man Razor Shads. You're starting to hear some about this Spunk Shad. You hear about the Rage Menace some. But here's one for a craw imitation that I really like. Now, if you were to use like a Rage Craw or something like that, it gives that bait a lot of lift. And on my bladed jigs, for the most part, I want bottom contact. I'll just slow crawl it, and then I'll give it a real fast, turn, and it'll shoot up, dart out, whatever, and that's usually when my bites come. But if you do that like Rage Craw or something with a lot of flap, it causes that bait to rise, which can be good if you're fishing it over grass or something like that, but I'm generally not doing that. The Menace does okay because it's got smaller appendages on it or flaps. But this is a Zoom Ultra Vibe Speed Craw. And it's got just those little legs like that. That is a very, very good craw imitation because it doesn't have lift like a Rage Craw does. Now this is the Jackhammer, I think it's the Heights Craw, and that's a tomato Ultra Vibe. Look at that. I mean, that is a great color combo, and that fits right into that, you know, use red colors this time of year. I'm excited about that combo. I've used something similar in the past with that Ultra Vibe, but I think that's going to be a good one. If the one time, spring can be kind of tough in that, you know, when it's warming, all these baits I just showed you will be very good. But a lot of times we'll get that little cold snap or something like that, and those fish don't go all the way back out deep again, but they can pull back out just a little. If they're not suspended, and if they are suspended, you could try the Alabama rig or something, or maybe the jerkbait still catches them, maybe just worked a little bit slower. But if they do get on the bottom, you can go back to like your little Kitex. Kitex catch them all year round, but something like that on those calm days or those cold front days or something like that, this is a good way to go. But hopefully this helps you. The one thing I ask is drop me a comment. Let me know your go-to bait for the pre-spawn or go-to baits. Hit that thumbs up for me. And if you got any questions, drop them down in the comments. I'll get back to you. But until next time.